What's up, you guys? So I'm here with a new video today, and I'm here to bring you guys an Invoked Infernoid 60 card brick deck. I told you guys in the community part of YouTube now where you can post things that I'd be doing this deck profile. This is just my take on the deck. Obviously I got inspiration from my boy Ed, shout out to you Ed, and to the other players that have actually been topping with this deck. This is another 60 card deck that has been able to survive in this spiral dominated format. I think it's pretty insane. I think the fact that Infernoids are, everyone will say, oh, the deck's back, the deck's back. The deck is slowly coming back and really just, doing well in a format dominated usually by just one deck. And I think the fact that they're all DD Crows is just something else. The fact that they're able to just disrupt what Spirals want to do, take away their quick fix, take away whatever's in the grave, and it's just really great. Plus the monsters are big. Deviati is a heavy storm. Anoku's a dark hole. It's just insane. And when you combine that with the Invoked Engine and you make it to where you have a Makaba, which can negate anything, and you have other negates in your Void Feast when you resolve Void Feast, it's just insane. So I'm going to get into it. I hope you guys will enjoy it. Again, I got the inspiration from my boy Ed and from other players I've seen that have topped with the deck. So we'll get into it. We'll break it down like we do with all the 60 card decks. We'll start section by section, and we'll start with the Infernoids. So for the Infernoids, we play 2 copies of Anoku and 2 copies of Deviati. These are the big guys. You have to play them because of Void Imagination. You also have to play them just because, these are the best Infernoids. Being able to just heavy storm your opponent is just insane. Plus this negates monsters. Being able to Dark Hole and negate a spell or trap is nuts. These cards are what you send off Void Feast with your Decatrons. You go your double Decatron and your Sajet, and then you send off Anoku and Deviati. That way you have a Decatron that can negate a spell or trap and a Decatron that can negate a monster effect, and you have a 2400 body. So these guys are just insane. Being able to recur them from the grave is nuts, and they're just game ending by themselves, so you have to play them. And then, of course, probably the best Infernoid is Decatron. It's one of the best normal summons you have in the deck. We also play 1-for-1, of course, so being able to get it out the deck like that is amazing. Becomes any Infernoid you want. Make sure Synchro play if you need it. Make sure Rank 4 play if you need it. It just, it does everything you want to do. Its main purpose, though, a lot of times is to come out of Void Feast because, again, being able to have one be a spell and trap negator and have one be a monster negator is nuts. So this card will just always be the best Infernoid. Ever since it came out, it made Infernoids nuts. For the little Infernoids, basically the ones that do all the work, we have 3 copies of Petrulia and 2 copies of Harmadic. So basically this is your spell and trap popper and this is your monster popper. They just get problematic cards out of the way and they just do what you need you to do, help you make your rank 4s. Just being able to pop a monster, this, and if you make this a 5, sending off that, you make your 8 that way or your 4 that way. So it just, they just have really good synergy in the deck. And another thing is they're all fires. That comes up because we do play Purgatrio, so yeah. And then the only big Infernoids we play are 2 copies of Cydamus. Again, like I said, I followed Ed's list because Ed is one of the best Infernoid players I know, and it made a lot of sense. I wondered at first why no Entondle, but then I realized, it's really not necessary. A lot of times the Infernoids, unfortunately, are the brick cards you draw in the deck, and you're better off just having, the best ones, and Cydamus is without a doubt the best one. It clears problematic cards, doesn't target, it's nuts, and, it's just big, too. So this card is definitely one of the best Infernoids. And then the last Infernoid is the Sajet. Its only purpose is to come out of Void Feast. Its effect I don't think ever really goes off, but sometimes there'll be weird interactions where it might. But yeah, it's there for Void Feast, and you just hope you don't banish it off Desires, because, you have other ways to bring out 8, but the ideal is to have Sajet with 2 Decatron. So that is it for the Infernoid part of the deck. Now on to the Invoked, which is pretty simple. You guys should already know. The Invoked cards, all you need is 3 Alistair. One thing that Ed mentioned, and a lot of players have mentioned about this, and I really find this true because I have played, as you guys have seen in my past deck profiles, I have played Invoke decks, and it is a 1-card engine. It is literally a 1-card engine. Being able to summon Alistair to get your invocation and then to go off is nuts. It's just such a solid normal summon, and the ability to recur it, to use its honest effect is nuts. You mill this, it's good. You mill this with an invocation, it's, it's crazy. You're able to do so many things, and I think that's what's just really cool is that you can do so many plays. You can even banish Alistair with Snow, and then if you have invocation in the grave, shuffle back the invocation, get back the Alistair, summon the Alistair. You guys already know how it goes. This card is just nuts, and it's amazing that you can actually combine these 2 decks together now, so I really, really like it. So yeah, that'll get us our invocation. We also play Meltdown because we want to see Alistair. It's one of the main center points of the deck. And then, of course, the best card in the deck, Fairy Tale Snow. No, you guys should already know 60 card decks. This card is nuts. So much disruption, so much, even 1850 is brutality when you need it, and you just so many game shots because of the plays you can do, where you can send off Snow for the effect of an Infernoid, then resummon it so you can do double the damage. So that's just nuts. So yeah, you guys all know how Andy won the YCS, how he won with attacking with Snow twice. It was crazy. So Snow will just always be the best card in pretty much any of these 60 card decks. And then we do play a Lightsworn engine. I play a really small Lightsworn engine. It's basically the same Lightsworn engine I played in my 60-card zombie Lightsworns. And that's 2 copies of Raiden and 3 Wolf. I opted to not play any others. I know Ed played Raikou. I just didn't want another normal summon. The only thing I did consider is a 3rd Raiden, but a lot of times with playing the 3 Charge the Light Brigade, it does get redundant because you are playing Charge to get Raiden. I mean, there will be sometimes you will Charge and you will have to grab Wolf, but we do play Solar Recharge. I mean, there are those kind of niche situations where I could see myself putting in a 6 Lightsworn, but honestly, the only one I want to put in is Raiden. I feel it's the best normal summon. Lila's okay because it's a back row popper. It's another option I considered. And then there is Lumina. Lumina I was testing for a little bit, but I noticed like I'd have to dedicate an extra deck space to Michael, and also it just didn't come up as much to where I would charge for that and have the Raiden in the grave and want to do the Lumina Raiden plays. So that didn't come up enough. So I just kept it with these. Those of you that play this deck, let me know if there was another Lightsworn you wanted to play, or if you really did like the Raikou. Raikou I know is really good. You just can out pretty much any card, but I just didn't want to dedicate another normal summon if I could help it. So that is it for the Lightsworns. That's it for the Invoked, and that's it for the Infernoids. Now we're just going to finish it up with the hand traps. So the hand traps, 3 Ash. No explanations there. You guys already know how good that card is. And I still play the 3 Gamma with the driver. I still think this is without a doubt like the nuts. Like this card is so good. There's so many things it can do. It can disrupt on on your opponent's turn. You can disrupt them when you're going off to negate stuff. And worst case scenario, like you can create a wall. You can literally create a wall of a 2500 attack point monster and a Gamma, and they have to get past both. So a lot of times it can help you from dying. I heard someone say that in a deck profile and didn't even realize that it does create a little wall that you can use to ward off your opponent. Worst case scenario. And of course it can make Omega, so that's really cool. And then of course the God card Max C. So that is it for the monsters. It's a lot of monsters. I want to say it's like 34 monsters, something like that, 34, 35. So yeah, so that's it for the monster count. On to the spells. Of course we play the 3 Left Arm Offering because we want 4 copies of Grass. This card is nuts. Just, there's so many ways to bait out Ash. Bait out the Ash and then left arm. That's all I can say, because you will lose so hard to getting your left arm Ash. So yeah. 3 copies of Desires, 60 cards, Pot of Greed. Why not? I have 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade because it's back at 3 and it's amazing in this deck, being able to just search your Raiden. Milling is just good, again, like a Lightsworn deck. Milling is good in this deck because your Infernoids can come out of the graveyard, and being able to hit Snow, being able to hit Alistair, being able to banish Alistair for Snow, and then being able to Invocation back. Like you would see the combos the more you play the deck, and that's what I'm learning as I play the deck, is I'm seeing things I wouldn't have seen before, so I really like it. And then for the Infernoid spells, we have 3 Void Vanishment. You guys already know this gets us to our Void Feast or our Void Imagination, which is absolutely insane. Going second if your opponent has an extra deck monster. It's Shaddoll Fusion on crack, as everyone is calling it. Tiara is nuts. You just mill so many cards. It's just like game. And now that we have, I guess it's called in the game, I don't even know how to pronounce it, I'll be honest. Being able to pop 3 cards is nuts too. So that's it for the Infernoid spells. Then we have 2 Solar Recharge. Only 2. I know Ed played 3. He also played a 6 Lightsworn. I just wanted to keep it at 2. To be honest, like you guys already know, I don't even play Solar Recharge in my Lightsworn deck, but it's because it's mostly heavily on zombies. But I put it in here just because you do have those situations where, you will dead draw the wolves, you will dead draw other cards. So I put Recharge in there. I'm not sure if it's going to stay though, to be honest. If I can find a way to cut it, I probably would, just because I feel that there is some other cards, and that's just something I need to think about. If you guys can think of any other cards that would belong in here more. So people might say Future Fusion. I mean, that card's kind of gimmicky, but I mean, it's kind of one of those YOLO cards, I guess. So it would just depend. But yeah, it's in there for now. And then I just 2 Meltdown, because the Meltdown I get the Alistair, that's really important, and the 2 Invocation because that's one of your main ways your deck functions and makes Macabre or Purgatrio depending on the situation. And then the one of bombs, we have the Pringle, the grass, resolve it, win the game, pretty much. The one for one, this card's nuts. Just being able to get Decadron is so ridiculous. Just being it to be your regular summon and discard like a snow or something is nuts. And then I decided to play the one Raigeki. I wanted it because a lot of times, you go second, and it's just a good way to clear the board. You can play other cards. Like some people might maybe want to play the third Solar Recharge. It seems like a lot. It just depends on your preference and how your play's set up. But I just like Raigeki as a solid one of, since it's his back, plus it's a board wipe. And then I played 2 copies of Void Feast. I made room for the second one because I felt it was really important that we resolve this card, that we see this card. So having it in the deck was really important for Void Vanishment. And then just being able to set it up and set up that play of the double Decatron Sajet was just really important. So I decided to play a second copy in case playing only one copy, it got banished off Desires. So that is it for the main deck. It is 60 cards. You guys already know the 60 card brick. Now we're just going to get on to the extra deck. So to the extra deck, we play the 2 Tiara. This card is nuts. You resolve it on Void Imagination, and I mean, it just has so many effects depending on what you send. You guys already know you're usually sending 6 Infernoids. You mill, like, I lost count of how many cards you just mill, but the main card you're sending off of it is this, the Elder Entity. I guess you just want to call it, just call it that or whatever. This card is nuts. When it goes to the grave, it just pops a card. That's ridiculous. You just pop 3 cards, plus Tiara does its things. Plus Tiara is huge. Tiara is 3,400, 3,600 defense. That's ridiculous. So that should come as no surprise. It's become a staple package, and you guys should remember when the OCG was dominating with Infernoids, it's because they had and we didn't, so yeah. And then I do play Link Monsters. I changed like one card from like what Ed played. I do play the Proxy Dragon for the 2, the Decode for the 3, and then I did see a deck that top did play Barrel Load Dragon. I really like Barrel Load Dragon. I think this card is insane. I think the ability to make it in this deck is there. It's just a great card to play, and it just wins games. It steals games by itself. So that was the Link 4 I wanted to play over, I think it was Akashic Magician. I'm going to test so you can see if maybe I can fit in both, but I noticed like you want the Link Monsters because you want to be able to clear your levels for Infernoids, so it does come up a lot. Plus Barrel Load is just nuts. And then on to the small, a little Invoked Engine. I just played 2 copies of Makaba and 1 Purgatrio. Reason is, I felt like 3 Makaba was just too much. I wanted a little bit more room in the extra deck, and I only played 1 Purgatrio because it'll come up sometimes. I don't think there was ever a game where I needed a second one. Again, more testing needs to be done, but so far I've only summoned Purgatrio once in a game, and Makaba I do summon a lot, but a lot of times the 1 Makaba plus a Void Feast resolving is enough to pretty much just lock your opponent out of the game and then win next turn, so that's why I just kept it with the 3 invoked monsters. Plus, worst case scenario, you can shuffle them back with Omega, if that does come up. There are those weird situations, you guys. The main star of the deck, though, the fakies. Sorry, 2 fakies, the 2 Minervas. Card's just really good. You guys already know. It's not even so much that you'll draw cards. It's not so much that you'll pop cards. It's that you just mill cards. Minerva's just this focal point of this deck, and it's crazy. I feel it's more of a focal point for this deck than it is for Zombie Lightsworn, just because you have so many options you can do, and that really is an Omega-based deck. But I feel in this deck, just being able to have the Minervas, having them, mill up to 6 cards is nuts. Depending on if they, if they get attacked in the next turn, they can just mill you enough cards to keep you in the game, and just really, really solid. You guys should already know, and now it's mass produced, so everyone can play it. So yeah, shout out to Johnny. Sorry I don't have my foreign fake Minervas yet, but we're still playing it. And then the only other rank 4 I decided to play was Babushka, just because of how many problems this card gives people. I wanted to play Tornado Dragon, and again, that might be something that'll change, but I really like Babushka because being able to summon it after you do your plays, in addition to what you already have, is nuts, because the opponent's going to suffer enough against your negates, plus you have a Babushka, it pretty much just locks the game from there. So that's why I put it in there for when the option does come up. And the last extra deck monster is the 1 Omega, because you can make it with Decatrons as a tuner, doing your, sending your guys depending on what you have in your hand, or you can make it off the driver and the Gamma. So yeah, so that is it, you guys. That is my 60 card brick, Invoked, Lightsworn, Infernoid deck. Again, shout out to Ed, and shout out to all the players that have been topping with the deck, gave me a lot of ideas, and this is just a first draft. It's definitely not perfect. It's definitely something I want to keep working with. It's just another deck I play on the side, in addition to, like, of course, the 60 card Lightsworn deck. There are other decks I'm working with. I know you guys really want to see an updated True Draco Monarch, a Domain Monarch deck, like all that stuff. working on it, you guys. You have to remember we are in a spiral dominated format, so being able to work with some of those older decks does get a little bit harder, but again, we will be getting a ban list soon, so maybe those decks will will be coming back. It just depends. I think Monarchs are just always solid. I think Erebus is not targeting and whatnot, so I feel that that's really important, and I feel like, just decks like this, I'm really happy that decks like this still see the light of day, because in addition to the 60 card Zombie Lightsworn deck, I do really like Infernoids. I've always liked Infernoids, and I think the fact that you can put them together with Invoked is nuts. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know any other deck profiles you'd like to see here on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.